right? And I'm not playing no.
What is the market like for like comic book artist art, but not necessarily from their books? So like they just do sketches, or
Oh, you mean like
let's say you get like
illustrations, stuff like
illustration
that?
sketches, like sketch.
Um,
They have blank covers that just people draw
yeah, the sketch
on.
covers. Yeah,
Yeah.
again, it's just it's really not very much different from the actual published stuff. I mean, it just
Okay.
depends on the artist, it depends on the image, it depends on the detail. Sometimes they're in color, sometimes they're black and white, sometimes it's pencil, sometimes it's inked. It just like I said, so many variables that go into it. Again, you can have some guys who are selling I mean, again, there are guys selling stuff on eBay right now for like starting bids of $10 just because they want to get something out of it. And there are guys who it's a piece by a well-known popular artist, and it's like it's as much as any published page could be. It just
Do
depends.
you publish sale prices of the stuff that's sold from your website? Do people
No.
know? So it's like on eBay, like you can kind of, I always tell people with comic books, that's where I spend most of my wheels would be like, well, you go to the filters and you change it to sold, so you can see what some of the recent sales are, so you can kind of gauge what the market kind of is. That's still not 100%, right? Because you can have something that's either hot or cold or whatever,
Well,
buy it
and
now
again,
versus
yeah,
auctions.
exactly,
But you
exactly.
got to get an idea of what the temperature is, like you were saying earlier. Probably that's a great term to use here. What the temperature is on something. Um, but you answered my question, even if you didn't think you did, and that is that you equated them as pretty similar. Like if I was looking for a Clayton Crane piece, whether he sketched the front of the book versus maybe a mediocre action sequence
Interior
or something.
page.
Yeah,
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 I mean,
you can.
again, again, there will be some different. Like again, a sketch cover, I'll tell you this, will probably usually be less than a published piece.
Right. Okay.
Published will always probably be a little more than the non-published stuff. Again,
Okay.
because it's published and it's something that
It's
not just
limited.
you know about. It's something that the whole world knows about because it's a published piece. Everyone's seen it, so
And there's
that's
only
why
so
it's
many
got
of
that.
them, right? There's only so many pages. Like he didn't make,
Exactly.
there's not, you get 28 pages or so in a comic book. Next thing you know, you got 28 pages, folks. There's not like 2,000 of them. There's not 15,000 of them. There's like, this is
Well,
it.
again, it just depends too. I mean, yeah, sure. There's like, for example, if you went to say, let me just pick somebody easy who I know has done a lot of work. Let's say you went with Mark Bagley, Amazing Spider-Man. He had a huge run on that book. There's
Sure.
tons of pages, but again, how many of them are out there, and how
Mhm.
many of them are of the high quality, and how many of them, do you see on the regular? Do you see a lot of that stuff out there? If not, then it's going to be more money because the rarity of how infrequently it comes out. And so even having big runs and lots of pages by an artist doesn't necessarily mean that the stuff is going to be cheap, you know.
True. And there's also a survival rate. Like I always say, every year something is getting accidentally destroyed or ruined, either just through natural disasters, people moving, things that
Yep.
happen. I've every time I lose something, I used to have stuff. I have times things fall off a shelf. Now it's the corners are ruined or the box is dinged up all bad, and little things like that happen. Comic art's a little different, but I can imagine if something got spilled,
Well,
there's a
again,
fire that
if you know the history of comic art, there's a reason a lot of that older stuff, like say the stuff from say pre 1970s,
okay,
pre 70s stuff is very hard to find, and when you do, it is very expensive. And the reason for that is because before the 70s, a lot of companies when they got the art, they didn't send it back to the artist the way they do now. They used to
right,
just take it and throw it away. I
sure,
mean, could you imagine,
no,
being in New York City outside the Marvel Studios in their dumpster area in
no.
1964 and dumpster diving and grabbing, oh, here's some Jack Kirby FF and here's some
No,
Steve Ditko
I cannot
Spider-Man, and
imagine. I can't imagine. No,
it,
I
it would
can't.
be like treasure hunting, and but a lot of that stuff ended up in a landfill somewhere. That's why there's so little of it out there, again. But then after the 70s, and I kind of say again, not to get political or anything, I think the whole Earth Day thing kind of plays into it. We gotta be more recyclable. We can't just throw everything away, and all that kind of came in. So the company started giving the art back to the artists who worked on it, and that's where the market now comes in, because now you got a serious market because there's all this product and there's a secondary market for it now because the artists have it back and they can try to profit off the art that way, because they got paid for the job and now they have the art they can sell to a secondary market of collectors.
Yeah, very, very true. Very
I've said it's one of the
interesting.
few benefits of being a comic book artist. One of the very few that you get is
You get
you
your
get the
stuff
art
back.
back. So you get paid for the job, and then they send you the art back, and then you can sell your art on the secondary market and make more money. So you're getting paid for the same job twice. It's very rare thing in any business, but it's one of the few perks I think to comic book artists is that they can do that.
Yeah, it was fascinating because you're definitely to credit for me being able to spend time with Mike Vosberg, and then we were talking kind of off air to expound on what he was saying about his storyboard work, and just to think about how many storyboards that is for like an actual TV show or a motion picture. You're talking about hundreds of frames, hundreds of things. So like a comic panel, you have a few dozen pages, you have this, whatever. You start thinking about the amount of storyboards, you just think about how many of those are out there, how fascinating some of them are, how it really is just interesting to think about these different avenues of collections, concept art, different things like that. And then to see with the internet now, we can shrink the world and you can kind of dial into things that pique your interest and find people like you who are like, oh, wait, I got all this stuff. I've been doing this my whole life. Let me help try to connect to people and maybe make a buck or two along the way.
Exactly. And again, that's just the nature of I think any kind of collectibles business, no matter what it is, whether it's comic art or books or cards or memorabilia of any kind. That's what it's all about. It's about being able to connect to people who want that stuff because it means something.
This is Kevin Murphy from Riff Tracks and Mystery Science Theater 3000.
Hey, this is Mark from Casting Crowns. Hey, this is Alan Powell from the film The Song.
Hey, this is Christian Kane.
This is Colin Mockreed.
Hello, everybody. This is Irony Singleton, a.k.a. T-Dog from The Walking Dead, and you are listening to my main man, Brandon.